there, it's Adrian over at the Sampleist, and today we are going to take a look at a stringed instrument. Impact Soundworks has released Rosette Mandolin, which is an F-style bluegrass instrument that is also capable of country, folk, Celtic and world music, so there's something for a wide range of styles. Impact Soundworks has captured the distinctive strength in rhythmic strumming with a nice singing tone for more melodic lines. Rosette Mandolin was recorded with up and down strokes on every string and every fret for ultimate realism. Based on their shredded 3.5 engine, users of their other products should be right at home, and you will need around about 1GB of disk space and at least 4GB of RAM. Rosette Mandolin also requires version 6.7 or above of the free contact player. Yes, the free contact player, you don't actually need the full version of Contact to run this. The full price of the instrument is $109. They also have an option to buy it by making 4 interest-free payments using Afterpay. So let's take a listen to what this instrument has to offer. So that's what it sounds like, and we have 4 distinct areas to look at on this instrument. So these are easily selected by using the buttons at the top of the page. So you've got main, strumming, articulations and advanced. And each of these areas act independently, meaning that you can load or save the data without affecting each settings on other pages. So if you make a change to this page and save it, you can actually lock the settings in and then change something else and load something else in, shall we say, without affecting what you've actually done on this page, which is a very handy thing to do. So on the first page, we have the volume and tone on this left-hand side here, which really speak for themselves, so I won't say too much about these. But both the Signal and Eco versions here, they are not part of this engine. They were part of the shreddage engine, which isn't functioned in the Rosette Mandolin. It's not required for this instrument. So the performance style up here, you can actually select the performance style and how the instrument decides which strings and fret positions to play. So any of these standard ones provides the most natural and traditional style of performance, and you can gauge mono mode, which is this bit here. So only one note can be played at a time, so any overlapping notes will always trigger legato. So I see that little sort of continuation of the sound, that's the legato kicking in there. We've got smooth on the here, which applies an EQ to all signals before any effects is added. We've got the pitch bend range and unison bend and vibrato. Really speak for themselves, but you can adjust them to different amounts to sort of make the instrument more of your own and to set the performance that you require for the piece of or the project that you're working on. These numbered little guitars here, now these are interesting because they allow you to do multi-track of the same instrument without having to load the actual same settings into another slot within Contact. So as each mandolin uses different, so if I select this guitar shapes here, so I select 2, say on here, so I've got 2 mandolins playing at the same time, they use a different sequence of samples, so there's no danger of getting any phasing, artifacts coming in here. Just to prove a point, I'll just engage all 4 and you get this sound. It's quite lovely actually, when you think just the one sounds like this. I love how you hear the hammer-ons as well coming off as your fingers sort of like come away from the strings. It's quite a very effective instrument. The responsiveness controls the playback offset for all the groups, so any poly input provides a small amount. So this poly input here, this provides a small amount of latency before the sample playback. However, although there's a delay, what will happen is the engine will capture the notes you've actually played and it will create a more realistic voicing from what you've actually played rather than just playing randomly on the strings there. We then, down here, where it says fretting mode and picking mode, we have different styles of fretting and obviously picking, and these parameters select how the pick direction is determined for each parameter. We then have the force string, which selects a single string that we use for all played notes, if possible. And if I move this, you can actually see which string is being highlighted, so that's going to be forced. And you can then move this across, so you can actually pick the string that's going to be forced, or you just make it 0 there. And finally, we have the hand position, which sets the fret at which the hand starts on sort of when it starts to reach each fret. So if I just, and then I move that, you see how that little bar line comes up this one here? So that tells me where my hand's going to start. So you can actually control whereabouts on the fret is actually being played, which is a nice touch. So let's pop over to the strumming section. Just click on this button here. And it's important to know that if you enable strumming mode, this bit here, no sound no sound's going to play. Basically, the instrument will remember the chord voicing and store it forever, so in perpetuity really. So that all string picks and strum triggers will act on that voicing that you've actually programmed in. The labels below here sort of like speak for themselves and are self-explanatory, so I want to go into all those, but they will allow you to manipulate the way this instrument strums, so to speak. In the next page we have wonderful articulations, and you can select the articulation by using these coloured key switches at the bottom, which if you see it says C1 there, that is C1 down here. This one's D1, so you notice it just moves straight away. So you can either select on here or you can just click up here. It's quite intuitive, and if you want more than one, you can control or shift click. So if I do, just do control click, you shift clicking it. And you can get more than one articulation at the same time there. Now, if we go down to the sound tab here, this depends on what articulation is selected. So if you notice, if I select natural harmonics, I get a different lot of settings there. Sustain and grace note and a choke gives me different settings. So you can actually manipulate the sound even further. So you can control the volume of the articulation, the offset of the sample start. So this offset here, that sort of changes whereabouts in this actual sample it will start to play. So that's even more manipulation of the sound that you can actually do, really. We have then advanced. The advanced tab here gives you even more control of the sound. You can transpose it. Key switch functions are present here when we 4 strings set hand, which relate to these keys down here. We then have a very powerful effects section, and this can actually be found by, if you go to console. Now, I'm not going to play too much with this because there's absolutely numerous ways you can change your sound. You've got all these effects to play with, and what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to just, you've got this sound. Now, if I just put this gallows reverb, however you pronounce it, now I'm just going to put the legato patches on. Now, what you can actually do is press this dice button. If you press the dice button, it'll just randomize the effect. So it just changes your sound straight away. I love that. So it gives you a nice way of creating new and interesting sounds. So okay, after that whistle stop tour, it's time to hear what this sounds like in a short musical composition. There we go, a little ditty tune that I put together using just the mandolin sounds from this Rosette Mandolin. The first track we have is the ambient string setting. This is just the normal bog standard patch ambient strings. and just repeats that riff all the way through the track. But I thought with the nice sort of shimmer that comes with these ambient strings, it just adds a little nice atmosphere to the track in its entirety. Then we bring in the large whole mando, which again is the untweaked bog standard preset from the library. That's with a few key switches thrown in just to add a bit of life to the sound there. Then we move to the large whole mandolin again. This time we're using a strum pattern. It's got like a choke to it as well. So if I layer those three together, we end up with this sound. We then have two custom-made patches, and this was, well, I'll quickly show you actually. These were created by using the effects channel, sort of on the gallows that I showed you in the little walkthrough, and Flare, and it adds this. Well, let's listen to it. It has a nice sound to it. And then when you layer these, it's sort of, it's there, but it's not noticeable, so to speak. But if I did mute it, you would know it's disappearing. Adds a nice sort of depth of field and reverb to this track. Again, we have on the final channel another custom-made sound I put together using the engine. So that's using the effects again with a bit of phaser on there, and just to give like an old Leslie's type sound to it. If you think of the old Hammond B3 organ, it's like a Leslie wheel going round on that one. Because I thought there's not much going on in bass end, so I thought I'll create like a bass mandolin type sound, and put together we get this. So there we go. That's what this track was based on and what it all sounds like in a sort of musical context. So my thoughts on this library. Impact Soundworks has done an excellent job in bringing to life the mandolin in a very expressive yet contemporary way. It's capable of providing suitable tones for many styles of music. The mandolin sound can be shaped into something quite different with the added console section. Just a few rolls of the dice, flick of the wrist, and you've got something quite interesting and unique. The articulations available really add life to the performance and make the sample instrument more believable, and the ability to tweak, save and load settings for each tab separately is really extremely useful. We would like to thank Impact Soundworks for sending across Rosette Mandolin for us to review. It is very much appreciated. And you dear viewers, I hope you have enjoyed this little journey, and if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel and visit thesampleist.com to see what we are all about.